Murder, attempted murder and assault are some of the allegations in the ongoing turf war between meter taxis and e-hailing taxis in the Citibank region of Gauteng. Stakeholders claim in this vicious battle for territory, police are also complicit in actively manipulating cases and sometimes inaction despite numerous cases that have been opened. E-hailing taxi drivers are now demanding accountability from the police and an intervention to stop this war which continues to put the lives of innocent commuters at risk. Tonight on Unfiltered we ask, are the police complicit in the Citibank e-hailing and meter taxi war? Good evening, my name is Aldrin St-Pierre and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Joining me in studio is the chairperson of the Citibank Regional Meter Taxi Council, Ngebo Shabalala. He's joining us over the line. And then the acting chairperson of the Citibank Regional E-Hailing Services, Abraham Mukate, is joining us in studio, as well as the policing specialist, Aldred de Klerk, is part of this conversation tonight. We'd also asked the South African Police Service, and they've unfortunately declined our invitation. But first, let's take a listen to this package that has been put together by our producer, Kinosi Queenie.
When Andy Lembata lost his job due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy, he joined the e-hailing business as a means to generate income and support his family of 4. Early this year, on the 29th of January, Jabu says he was attacked by the rival meter taxi drivers in front of the police. Police had to fire warning shots to disperse a crowd of attackers.
Ngoba ngumuntu wala eSouth Africa ngazi ukuthi ke umuntu la eSouth Africa uvumelekile ukuya kuphi noma akathanda khona. Yes, ngivumelekile ukuthi ngiye kuphi la ngithanda khona ngenze yonke into engiyifunayo. So manje mina ngoba ngenza iBolt noma sengenza iBolt ngihambelana nefamily yami nezingane zami nomfazi wami. Ngiyavinjwa ama-meter taxi ayangiblock noma ngiyeVal Mall noma ngeFernach ngihambisa ingane esikoleni noma ngihambisa umfazi wami esikoleni angisengiyasaba ngisho nokuhamba emgwaqeni ngiyavinjwa.
Following an attack that left him injured and his car damaged, Tsepo Mthembu says he has no hope of getting justice even though he's also laid charges at the police station. Jabu and Tsepo are some of the hundreds of Citibank e-hailing drivers who joined a march on the 7th of March calling for, among others, national intervention to stop the violence and take action against police members alleged to be failing to act professionally.
I think there should be a special task team that is being deployed by the state. You know, I wouldn't precisely tell who should specifically deal with this division, because to me now, if this thing is not well handled, it might turn up into a taxi violence or a taxi war. Understand? Unless this is the main thing, objective within our opponent, if that's what they're really leading this to. But then I think there need to be serious intervention by the SABC, be it on the national level or on the division within our police stations or whatsoever.
In the past 3 years, they allege that at least 10 cases of assault, damage to property and attempted murder have been opened. Kinosi Queenie, Unfiltered.
Good evening, Abraham. Let me start off with you. How bad is the situation? And also considering that there have been cases at least that you have attempted to open around abduction.
Thank you very much, Aldrin. The situation is very bad. One thing I can tell you is that we have been trying so much to deal with this, to resolve these matters between us, e-hailing and the meter taxis, but they seems not to be willing to work with us. So we tried to even engage the police, especially in Vanderbilt Park, where they are taking us even when we are, maybe sometimes you are at the shops or you are even at your house, they can just come there. At times they attack you, they damage your car, and they just go, or sometimes they just demand money. And then if
Who demands money?
Those meter taxi guys.
They demand money from you?
Yes, they demand money.
And when they demand the money, do they say what this money is for?
Because they are operating, they say they don't want Bolt or Uber in Citibank. Mm-hmm. So now, because you are there, you have to give them money. About sometimes they say 2,000 rand, 1.5, and guys will give them whatever they have with them.
Yeah. And how long has this been going on for?
It has been going on for a very long time, I think I first joined, I think 2 years ago, but it was there already. Yes, and there were still the same cases, and then the drivers will go open cases at the police stations, Vereeniging and Vanderbilt, the 2 police stations, and then they are not getting any assistance.
Okay. So we'll deal with the aspect around the police, but I want to first deal with the relationship that you have with the meter taxis. Have you ever had a sit down with them?
Yes, we did sit down with them. It was the meeting was arranged. I think it was last year. I don't remember. I think it was sometimes around June.
Yeah.
There was a meeting in Vereeniging, the police cluster, whereby they were trying to mediate, but even there they did not come. Actually, it was the police, it was the Department of Transport, and I think the municipality was also there. I'm not sure about that, but the Transport Department and the police were there, and the Traffic Department was also there. So we tried to resolve, but even there was no solution, because, to be honest, solution must come from the Department of Transport, but the Department of Transport is not giving any solution.
Yeah, and you are clear though with the attacks that have been happening that these attacks are attacks from the meter taxis.
I'm clear. I'm talking about people that you see, people you know.
Okay. Babumcebo Shabalala is the Citibank Regional Meter Taxi Council chairperson joining us on the line. How do you respond to these allegations? Is it the meter taxis that are behind the attacks on e-hailing service taxi drivers?
Good evening. This is both-sided stories, because between us and Bolt, we had meetings. This is the second committee that we are meeting. There were agreements with the previous one. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. There were agreements with the previous committee, of which they were supposed to be handing over. If they were handing over, they would have given them, as you say, this is what we've agreed upon with the previous committee. So we are having cases, even us, that we've opened. Nothing has happened from our side. So it's both sides. It's not only the more open cases that nothing was done.
So are you saying that you know of meter taxi service providers who have been attacking e-hailing service providers?
No, I'm not doing that.
But you're saying it's both sides.
It's both sided.
Yeah. So I'm asking from your angle.
Who shot meter taxi guy? We open cases. Nothing has happened.
Yeah. Do you know of meter taxi drivers who have been attacking e-hailing service taxi drivers?
No, I don't know about that.
So, but you just said earlier on that it's both sides.
No, I'm saying it's both sides. Listen, they were saying they open cases for people that they know.
Yeah.
That's what he said. I'm responding on saying, even on our side, people that we know, we've opened cases for them.
Okay, there's a case, for instance, that relates to e-hailing operator Andile Mbata, who was attacked in Vanderbilt Park, McDonald's, by a group of meter operators who also damaged his car. Do you know about that?
No,
this was in January on the 29th.
I don't know which one are you talking about, because each and every day there are things that are happening. So I can't be clearly saying.
So each and every day there's counterattacks. Does it mean that each and every day there's counterattacks?
Yes, like that.
Okay, so there's the admission. From your end, though, Shabalan, from your end, though, do you know of service providers who are part of the e-hailing services who have been attacking meter taxis?
From our side, we don't know anything.
No, I'm asking my guest here in studio. Yeah, Baba.
From our side, there is no one who have attacked the meter taxi. What I can tell you is that if he says our guys attacked them, can he give you a case number that they open against such a person?
But isn't one of the cases where one of the e-hailing drivers shot at a meter taxi?
That one you are talking about, it is when he was attacked. Exactly. He was attacked at the McDonald's, and then there at McDonald's, he managed to fire 2 shots, and then he shot him on the legs.
So the argument is that it was in self-defense?
It was a self-defense, and the very same guy, he was taken to custody, but the following day, the prosecutor let him go because he said there was no case against him.
Bamkebo, do you agree with that? That incident that happened was in self-defense?
We are having 3 cases. You must not quote 1 case, because there are even 3 people that were shot.
There were 3 people that were shot?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Okay, let me just quickly bring in Aldred de Klerk. Aldred, you've now heard from both sides here, what they have to say, and also the counter-accusations that are taking place here. But what's your observation about what's happening between the meter taxis as well as the e-hailing service providers?
Good evening, and I think this is very vital because many of us make use of both meter taxis and e-hailing services. For many years, the meter taxis have effectively operated much in the same way. Perceptions about them are that they're exploitative, they have no fixed rates, and also they can't necessarily be trusted to provide the best service. In comes e-hailing, mostly now dominated in different regions, not necessarily by local South Africans, but by our brothers and sisters from elsewhere in the continent, who in and themselves are vulnerable. So here we have an industry that for too many years have been, and you guessed this right, this is on the Department of Transport across the country, who've been left to regulate themselves. They've been left to self-regulate. And in that, they have set their own rules of engagement. There's an entry fee for getting into the service, and there's a fee for actually operating in that space, all of which is contrary to regulation, and it actually undermines the ability of something that was seen as a black economic empowerment vehicle to be exactly that and to provide an honest living for the members who choose to go into providing a public transport service. The police, unfortunately, also have a case to answer, because no matter how minor or how frivolous the case, they have to investigate it thoroughly, and on the basis of that, communicate timelessly with every single complainant and lay out clearly articulate why a particular case is either dormant, cold, or have been closed on the basis of no evidence. So there's a number of departments who have to play a key role in resolving this conflict.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we come back, the conversation that we want to have is focusing on the police, focusing on law enforcement, but also the role of the Department of Transport. Because if you look at the Competition Commission's report in 2020, one of the issues that they highlight there is that there should be, one of the recommendations that they have is that to deal with the conflict between meter taxis and e-hailing operators, they must ensure safety of passengers, and the Commission recommends that the specialized division within SABC must be created to deal with all public transport related matters. Yet again, though, on the 7th of March, that's a similar call that has been made by the e-hailing service operators as well. That conversation when we come back. We continue our conversation focusing on the turf war between meter taxis as well as e-hailing service operators in the Vaal Triangle. Our conversation this evening is with the Citibank Regional Meter Taxi Council Chairperson, Mcebo Shabalala, as well as e-hailing services Acting Chairperson, Abram Mukate, and Policing Specialist, Africa Center for Security and Intelligence, Aldred de Klerk, is joining us for this conversation as well. Babu Shabalala, I want to start off with you again. So you said that you have a couple of cases that have been opened. In total, you spoke about 3. Do you know what the update is around those 3 cases?
No, there's no update. As we checked upon those, especially in internet, because it happened in internet back. There's nothing that is happening there.
Do you know what the charges were?
Charges for what?
Do you remember what the charges were? Attempted murder,
yes,
or damage to property? Sorry, just say that again.
I'm saying there were guys that were involved, so it's attempted murder.
It's attempted murder. Yes. And the last time you heard from the police around any of those cases, when was that?
Remember, it's not me who was in that case, on that case. So the one of those guys that the one was shot, the one they just shot the car.
Yeah.
So when I did a follow up on them, because I can't speak to the investigating officer, the guy that was supposed to be talking to the investigating officer has said to me the case has been closed. I don't know what are the reasons.
Okay, but that's a similar experience, Abraham, that you guys have had. Seemingly.
No, he says the case was closed. There was no case at all. That case, as I'm saying, they opened. We went to the police station the day they took Andile in, and then we questioned them what was the charges. They said one of the captains said it was the attempted of murder. But when Andile was detained, the charge sheet had no case number. And then the following day, when Andile went to court, the prosecutor said there is no case to answer, not unless until the police must do investigations. Till then, they will come with the. So there was no. That case was not closed because it was not even opened. There was no case number. I've sent you the charge sheet on the email.
Yeah, but there's a case, for instance, of Mpho Cebase, I think it is.
Yes.
Where a case was opened, and then the investigating officer was always busy. And what happened to that case?
He is our member.
Yeah.
He is a e-hailing driver. The investigating officer, I don't know if I should mention names or...
You can go ahead.
The investigation officer there, he was Mopedi. He is the one who was investigating that, we were told is the one investigating that case. He never told that the victim what happened to his case. Whenever the victim calls him and wanted to find out what was happening, he will tell the victim, Mpho, that he was in court or maybe he's on leave. That's what all the stories that he will tell. And Mpho provided the evidence to him. He gave him the quotation for the damaged car. He gave him the pictures, and he even told him that he can identify the perpetrators.
Okay, and isn't there another case that also that it's being investigated by Inspector Mopedi?
The first one was Andile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andile's case. And even the same case, Andile's case, Andile provided the quotation, the pictures of his damaged car. He even showed the investigator Mopedi the video. The other day he called they called Andile to identify that guy who attacked him. And then what happened when Andile was there, this chairperson arrived with, because the Mopedi called him, he arrived with the perpetrator, and then Andile was able to identify him there, but that case was closed.
Eldred, what should the response of the state then be, considering that that reference that I made a bit earlier on from the Competition Commission back in 2020 already, saying that this conflict could be dealt with by setting up a specialized unit within SABC?
Well, we're supposed to have within the Department of Transport a transport inspectorate. We have regulating officers and assessors within each of the Department of Transport. You also have specialist transport courts that listens to fines against people and also could be doing this. The problem is that the South African Police Service can only investigate actual things that are scheduled crimes. They cannot withdraw or act against the operating license of somebody who's been so authorized to provide that public transport service. So whatever they do, specialized unit or not, requires a specialized number. And I agree with the idea that people need specialist knowledge, because even when I cross a border and a South African police officer unfortunately has to look at my car or vehicle, they can't find the engine number, they can't find the VIN number, and they actually don't know where and what they're looking for. Most of them cannot read an operating license, for example, and I've been part of a campaign to train them on reading an operating license. So they do require specialized knowledge. All officers need to do that. And then you need a specialist unit to effectively work with the Department of Transport and Traffic to actually intervene and identify perpetrators. And even if you can't act against them in terms of finding them guilty for a crime, if they have flaunted their code of conduct or the operating conditions of their license, they should lose the privilege of operating a public transport service.
Okay. Have you guys opened a case against iPad as yet? With iPad?
No.
Why not?
We sent, actually last week, on the 7th, we had a protest to the police cluster. We had some demands and we gave them those demands.
Those demands.
Yes.
But you haven't opened a case with iPad?
No, we haven't.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to get some concluding remarks and also asking the question that should police really be involved in dealing with issues that are at their core economic related? And let's just quickly get some closing remarks from our guest this evening. Aldred, I'm going to start off with you. Is it fair to expect of police to get involved in issues that at the core is actually economic and market-based? Because the Competition Commission also points out that the introduction of the e-hailing services has actually distorted the market because there are certain restrictions that the meter taxis have that the e-hailing services don't even adhere to.
When competition affects the safety and the ability of anybody to give effect to their operating license, then that is when the state has a duty of care and has a duty to protect such individual who's been given that operating permission, because that's an authority they apply for, and it's authority which, once granted, we should guarantee that they can actually enjoy. So the state has a duty to intervene.
Okay, and Baba Shabalala, your closing remarks, and also asking what do you think could be done to try and fix the relationship that you currently have with the e-hailing service, including, for instance, issues relating to adhering to the license conditions?
Firstly, I think the part that we must start with is to take out the officials from government on the e-hailing side, because they are part of it. Even the officers, they are part of it. Staff members and government officials, actually, they are part of it.
But they are the ones who are entrusted with issuing those licenses, isn't it? They are entrusted with issuing those licenses. It's their job, it's their duty.
Who?
This is now speaking about officials in the state.
Yes, I'm saying the officials are part of it. So,
what do you mean they are part of it?
You are not entitled to be in the industry. And
you mean that they also operate in the industry? You mean that they also operate in the industry?
Yeah, for proof of that, we've got the subs members that are part of e-hailing.
Okay, and that's the issue that you believe that needs to be dealt with. That's an issue that has been raised with minibus taxis as well. Abraham, quickly, your closing remarks, and what the Competition Commission has said as well is that 4 out of 5 of your operators don't have licenses.
You know what is happening. The problem, I can agree, the first step that need to be taken, it's the Department of the Transport. The Department of Transport need to speed up whatever need to be to regulate this in our industry as the e-hailing industry.
Yep.
Yeah, we are also having that challenge.
Okay, unfortunately we've come to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on Unfiltered S3 with me, Aldrin Simpier, Tsebo Shabalala, Abraham Mukate, as well as Aldred de Klerk. Thank you so much for making time for us this evening, and thank you for choosing us this evening. Totsins, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.